Adventures, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in a student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wade in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. You're listening at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on Sunday, the 15th of November, 2015. The year has just been flying through. I am joined this week by our friend and my co-host, as always, Ken. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm frustrated.
Frustrated? Why are you frustrated today, sir?
Because I'm stuck in Fallout because I saved in a stupid place.
Oh, that is the worst.
Yeah, we've all been there. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, although it seems like I have something stuck in my throat because it feels like I need to cough or something before I can speak right, and I don't have a drink next to me.
Worst.
So I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to maybe need to run away for a moment during the show to get a drink so that I don't start hacking and coughing and dying during the show. But that's alright, I will survive. But we will go ahead and get things kicked off this week with
Functional Deviations. And
on this week's Dysfunctional Deviations, Ken, I know I pretty much don't have anything to talk about that hasn't been geeky this week. Because, I've been doing geeky stuff. So, how about yourself, sir?
Nice. What have I been up to all week? Okay, so I may seem a little bit tired today, but it's because there's good reason for it, and it's because I'm high on drugs.
Oh! I see. So, oh no, I can't say that. Never mind. Yes. What do you mean, Ken?
So you remember last week when I mentioned my ear was clogged or whatever, or something was going on because of Tenerife?
Yes, that something Tenerife-like was growing in your head.
Yes, so I went to the doctor's the next day on Monday there, and she basically said to me, "You've managed to both put a hole in your eardrum, you've managed to knock a big hole in the middle of it, and it's infected." So I was like, that explains why I can't sleep and I'm nearly screaming in agony while trying to be quiet at nighttime in bed.
Oh my gosh, that sucks.
Yeah, so I basically said to her, "Whatever else you do, I don't mind, but please give me painkillers. Please, please, please." Now, I've never been on painkillers in my life, any real ones anyway, because anything I have is either a minor sore throat or just something that passes quickly or a cut or something. I've never had any major medical problems, ever. And I've been very lucky in that regard. Sadly, however, when I told her that, she said, so you're not used to painkillers then?
Aww.
Well, no, but she gave me cocodamol, which is it's weak strength to moderate strength. It's paracetamol plus codeine.
Sounds like she was going to give you something pretty weak.
Well, that is pretty weak. So, I wasn't too bothered because she was right, because I've never really been on painkillers before, so made sense she gave me something else, but she gave me a whole list of things to take. So I was on antibiotics, I was on decongestants, cocodamol, and ibuprofen as well for inflammation. So 4 types of drugs. Now, I was supposed to take them all every 4 hours, effectively, but because for the last hour out of the 4, I ended up being in extreme agony and very much tempted to break the dosage allowances and have more, which is obviously something you shouldn't do. I mixed it up and now I have half of my medication every 2 hours, then the other half the next 2, then the next 2 after that I have my original half again. So that works fine. No, I've talked to a nurse about it and stuff. It's totally okay to do that. Though just so long as I take the right amount throughout the day, that's the main thing. So long as I don't overdose, and so long as I don't accidentally mix them up or anything. That's the main thing. Because then I can have some major stomach problems like ulcers, etc. And plus, ODing on paracetamol is apparently one of the worst ways to go. So I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the most fun way to go, I can imagine.
No, probably not. Writhing in pain for days, if not weeks, as your stomach dies inside you. Yeah, so I've been in a hell of a lot of pain. I thought an earache would be such a minor thing. I honestly kept, every time throughout my life when anybody talks about earache, I thought it was sort of, I don't know, like when your eye's itchy, or, I don't know, you got a bit of inflammation somewhere, like a rash. I thought it was something very, very minor. But now, now that I've had a perforation in my eardrum, and then I had an infection behind it which built up, and I hate to get gross on you guys, I'm sorry if you're eating, but it built up fluids, bodily fluids, behind this attempting to heal piece of skin. So every night, what would happen is through the day it would build up and build up. At night, I'd be sleeping, and then I'd feel this excessive pain, and it's because it was breaking through my eardrum again. So the bit that was healing over would just burst through again with all this disgusting liquid. It has been a horrible week in terms of health. I'm at a stage now where the pressure's almost gone. The pain's not, but now it's no longer doing that disgusting thing. I think my eardrum has got a permanent layer on it now, which is good. I don't think it's fully healed yet. She said it'll take up to 4 weeks, if not more, to heal properly, and I should be feeling the effects until then. So she gave me enough painkillers for 4 weeks, which is nice. So I've been making a point to, Oh, also antibiotics. That's another thing, right? First time I've ever been on those. They kind of suck because I can't drink, and when you can't sleep because of pain. The obvious thing to do is to go have a shot of whiskey to knock yourself out. That's kind of always a go-to because it's readily available and fun.
Yeah, it's a classic, old school remedy. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been the case that your baby's got their teeth coming through in Scotland and won't stop crying. Put your finger in some whiskey and just dab it on the gums.
Oh, we still do that.
Yeah, that's a very common remedy. Same with when I was a kid, quite young. My parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles. If I was really ill with a cold and I couldn't sleep and I had a stuffed nose, they'd make me a hot toddy, which is a small amount of whiskey, lots of hot water and sugar, and maybe some honey in there as well. And so that soothes your throat and, most importantly, knocks you out. And when you're a kid, a very small amount of whiskey is all you need. You don't even need one shot. It would be a quarter of a shot. So, the homemade remedies that make sense, they're very useful. But it's sad that I couldn't do that because of antibiotics. Thankfully, I've only got 3 pills left to go with my treatment. And I've been very careful with antibiotics more than the other things because I understand how they work. To an extent, anyway. I understand that antibiotics, you need to finish the whole course, or else you are an asshole.
Well, the problem is if you don't finish all the antibiotics, it may actually relapse. It lapse back into being sick and not fully get through it. Yeah.
You know how you have MRSA and these super bugs in hospitals and stuff? Well, the reason these things exist is because quite often patients will be on antibiotics and they'll either finish the course earlier or it wasn't long enough. So you're right that it relapses, but it's not just the original thing that comes back. It's the same thing with 99% of the weaker stuff taken out, and just the last 1% that's more, that has more resistance to the antibiotics than the rest of it, then that part breeds. Then every patient in the hospital goes through this and it passes on back and forth. And yeah, so that's how you get superbugs, right? So if you ever get be it a sore throat, be a chest infection, if you ever have anything that requires antibiotics, even if you think you're healed, finish the course of treatment, finish your medication, keep taking it after you think you're healed, because otherwise you are dooming the human race. Ever so slightly.
There are multiple reasons, yes.
Yeah, so there's a good few reasons, but that is a very important one, so I know I've been making sure to do that. So it's been fun. I feel so sorry for everybody all week, because especially my beautiful wife, who's been really, really putting up with me. Because, one, I'm deaf, which is really annoying in itself. Not just to me, but to her. How many times do you think I've said, "What was that? What? What'd you say? What?" All through the week. It must have been, I can count hundreds easily. I feel so sorry for her to put up with that she has to keep repeating herself over and over. And I'm saying such old man phrases like, "Say it to my good ear."
Oh.
So,
next time when I see you holding a horn up to your ear, right?
Yeah, I may as well be, and I've got this weird habit where I've been wearing headphones all week in both ears. No need. I hear nothing. There's no need for me to do that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's horrible, but it'll get better. I'm looking forward to finishing the treatment and getting back to be able to drink alcohol at least, so that'll make the last of it a bit more easier, but Other than that, Ken Feature's birthday is coming up in a few weeks.
Nice.
So I've been trying to put together something to help with that, to do something for her. So I have this. Okay, here's some life tips, folks. Some economical tips. Here you go. Fantastic stuff I've learned through some friends at the university. So I mentioned before that I do a little bit of traveling here and there for my PhD, right? So I go to some conferences, I go and do some research with some other companies elsewhere, and I'll be traveling hopefully through to Colorado next year, amongst other places, right? So I travel quite a lot. So what happens is basically I either pay with my own money for the travel costs, and then they cover it afterwards. They give me it back, and I pay. The thing is, that means I have to effectively have savings in order to cover that. I find that quite annoying, so I tend to get everything in advance if I can help it. But anyway, that's side of the point. So, because I'm entirely in charge of my own finances, and then it's just covered afterwards in post, it's up to me how I go about doing it. There's no set course of action. I don't have to use certain providers for hotels or airlines. So long as it's a fair cost, and I'm not spending, say, thousands on a local flight, so long as I'm not doing first class, pretty much, I'll be fine, right? So long as I'm not eating steaks 3 times a day, I'll be fine. It's kind of a common sense thing, and they're very trusting, which is good. But they gave us a lot of trust because they treat us like adults, and in return, we tend to be quite good about, being trustworthy. So, in order to make the most of this, I've been looking around, because obviously, one, I want to save the university money, because I don't want them to cost them more, because it's an education establishment, and so it's important that any spare funds they have stay in the uni, in my opinion. That's a moral thing to do. It's an ethical thing to do. Secondly, however, there's other options out there other than just saving money. I can also make money off of this, without costing the university a penny. How, may you ask? So if you travel for your work, for yourself, or for education, or for whatever else, if you want to ever buy a car, if you ever want to rent a car, or anything like this, there's a few tips you can do. The first and obvious one is for hotels, right? If you want to go stay in a hotel, there's multiple ones out there that have deals on, right? Easy enough, you look for the one that has 25% off on this date, or if you do, if you book well in advance, you often get money off, or you can go for a reward scheme. I recommend the latter. So I use Hotels.com. What I do is I go on Hotels.com, I made an account, and every time I get a hotel through uni or anything else, including my trip to Tenerife actually, I do it through Hotels.com and through that account, because every 10 nights you spend through Hotels.com, you get 1 night free for the average cost, which is pretty sweet. So you're effectively getting instantly 10% back. Plus, if your work is paying for it, that means they're paying for your 10 nights. Then you get a night free somewhere. It doesn't cost them anything extra. That's a pretty sweet deal. So I've been making the most of this the past year. So for Kitten's birthday coming up, we'll be making the most of that for the 1 night free in a 5-star hotel in Edinburgh in the next couple of weeks. Beautiful Penta suite, this like amazing apartment in Edinburgh.
Penta suite? Is that like a pentakill?
Pentakill. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. You normally cost about £300, but because we're getting like £120 off, it's not bad at all. Not only that, but I'm actually getting a night added on to my next 10 nights because of this, because I'm still paying something for it. So that's still pretty sweet, right? So there's that. Now, abstract a little bit. Let's take this back. There's another layer to this. This is only one method of the money saving. So there's this website called quidco.com. I don't know if you've ever used anything similar.
No, I haven't. Well, it's Quid, so it's got to be British.
Yeah, probably. Basically, it's a money back website. And what they do is, you know how we at b2wproductions.com, we are sponsored by Audible. And if you click on the link on our main page, you can go and get your free audiobook, yada, yada, yada. When you go do that and you give them money, we get a cut, right? That's the amazing thing about this, this is how we make money. You get something free and we get money off of it. That's a great thing. Now, imagine that we set up another website. Let's call it Quidco, right? So this is what Quidco did. They made a website that's entirely dedicated to this scheme. So they are the middleman. They made a middleman website. So you go onto their search engine, you look for whatever you're interested in, be it Amazon, be it eBay, be it Hotels.com, renting cars, buying a dog, buying, I don't know, freaking condoms, anything you want. can go onto this website, find the place that you want to buy the stuff from, then they will track what you do on that website, and they'll get money back from it, okay? So they'll get the 5%.
So it's basically, it's just like doing a, like with Amazon and stuff, if you have an Amazon store, it really is just Amazon, but because people are shopping through your store, you get credit back for it.
Almost. So Quidco gets all of the credit back, right? It is effectively their money. So
Okay.
what you do instead is you pay them £5 or $5 a year or whatever, which is quite a small amount, because if you use that for everything, you're
Okay.
paying the same amount for everything else you do in life, but you get the money back that goes to them instead. So the 5% and the 10% of the cash back goes to you instead. So if you buy so if you buy your car for say $5,000, and say you got 10% cash back through a dealer through Quidco, you'd pay them $5 to use that service, and you would get
The cash back for it. Yeah, the whole
$50
10% or whatever back, yeah.
So you'd make way more back straight away.
I see what you're saying. They're just providing the service as the middleman. That makes sense.
So it's a really smart, strange idea, and I know it's kind of abstract to get your mind around it, but... So what I've done, again, I said this is going to be a bit abstract, through Quidco.com, I use Hotels.com. So every time I get a hotel night, I get a stamp on my out of 10 free, right? Every 10 I get a one night free. And for every single night I do, be it through work or anything else, even if somebody else is paying for it, I get 10% of the money back.
I do see what you are doing.
Freaking cool, right?
Yep,
Isn't
well, it's
that
the same
cool?
thing as like having a rewards card, credit card, something like that, they'll pay you back, except this is just doing it based on the overall amount of purchasing that goes through their company. That makes a ton of sense, and that's interesting model. I'd be curious you'll have to keep up on like how well it works in the future. How long have you been using it?
A few months.
Okay, and it's funny because I don't think I've seen anything the same here in the U.S., and I don't know if Quidco is like specifically for the UK or not, but that is an interesting way to do it, because what you're saying about like getting the rewards stuff, you know, when you work for a company that allows you to book things for work, basically in most of my experience I've seen, I have to use a corporate credit card to pay for everything, but still the accounts that you utilize are basically your own rewards accounts. So if you set up your own rewards accounts for hotels, for airlines, for car rentals, stuff like that, so every time they get those extra, like you got a free, you've earned a free day on a rental car or something like that, essentially you get to use those benefits. And so it is one of those things, if you're ever in a situation where some other entity, usually work, school, something like that, is going to send you somewhere, then it's really smart to sign up for things. Same kind of thing, and actually there's the book that I do recommend to people that is mostly because it's a very simple read, and it gets you to change some financial habits very easily, but it's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And it's a real small book, but the way the guy talks about it in the book, similar kind of things to this, which is finding ways not to say like cut out spending money you would normally spend. Don't stop drinking your coffees, don't, the little luxuries in life, stuff like that. That's extreme, like financial change. But instead is to try to change everything you can for the accounts you use and what sites you maintain and stuff like that to make your money work for you. And so that's essentially what it's doing. The whole book talks about, and it's real easy to read, how you can change out your like bank accounts and stuff to make sure they're making as much money for you as possible. How to set up automatic payments so that you never miss a bill again and never get charged any fees. Basically how to cut out any fees in your life and things like that. And that's one of the first ways you can do to get rich. It's changing your habit to make your money be as efficient as it can be. And that way all the money you're saving actually goes much further. It's really a brilliant read. Cheap book, something anyone should get out there.
It was quite a surprise to me this sort of thing exists. I wasn't sure with the legality of it, and this is a UK-only website, by the way, but there are alternatives out there. But it's been praised, according to Wikipedia, it's been praised by money-saving experts across the UK, saying, like, this is a brilliant thing. If you use this, it's just smart. Why wouldn't you, right?
Yep.
It's a
You
brilliant
just have
thing
to make
do,
it a habit to start using it.
Yeah, I have a couple of times not used it by mistake, and then I curse myself afterwards.
Well, it's the same kind of thing. It's just like when they talk about having a credit card, the idea is you should never try to use a credit card where you actually carry a balance on it. In fact, one of his ideas initially in the book I read was to get rid of all credit cards until you're financially secure, in the sense that all your money's working. then you can look at getting a credit card. But when you get that credit card, it has to be one that benefits you in some way.
Yeah.
And, you know, because, like, the one credit card I maintain, which is with my bank establishment, essentially, it has far too high an interest rate, I believe, but it pays me reward points back. It's originally how I went out and bought for free my, you know, GoPro Hero and stuff like that I got for free because of rewards. About $350 worth. But
Nice.
I try to keep a balance off it completely until I got it paid off, and then I would buy all my bills on it, pay everything on it, and then just make sure I pay it off every month. And that way I get the maximum reward points.
Yeah.
Yep. Although, like now, because I've had a few things hit me, and some things I'm doing because it's like, yeah, I really want to do that. You know, a couple, what will I say, a couple Kickstarters that hit at once, and things like that. So all of a sudden, like $1,000 just showed up, right? Bing! Some trips, stuff like that. So unfortunately, right now I'm carrying a balance, which I'm trying to get off. I say that as I just booked another trip.
I look forward to hearing with this.
Yeah, so as soon as we get, that's the one thing I'll talk about in my area. But no, so financially though, it is something that I recommend to everybody, and this goes across any kind of platform discussion, anything you want to talk about. Yes, we're mostly a geek and gaming show, but we talk about what we do. And one of those things is if you can do whatever you can to get financially secure, so that then you will have discretionary funds, you can do all of our hobbies and things that we enjoy more. People often look at me and they're like, man, you do all these things, you're traveling and you go to these conventions and you know, participate in all these random things. It's like, well, yeah, but that's only because I've made it so that my money allows me to do so. You know, and I don't work a job that I love so much as a job that enables me to have the time and money I need to do the things I want to do outside of work. I mean, it's a benefit if you can do both and get to a job that you also really enjoy. But for me, the sacrifice of working at a job that I don't necessarily love, I don't hate it, but is one that allows me to then go do other things. And so, yep, throwing that out there.
Definitely. If you don't love your job, you may as well at least love the benefits, or else there's no point in it. And you're clearly enjoying that, and the people I've heard. You have a lot of nice coworkers and stuff.
I am fortunate that yes, I work around a lot of really cool people, and so. But that's kind of just for a financial tip to the world. Just it is so beneficial and smart, no matter what position you're in, to make sure you're financially stable before expanding and doing so many other things. The more money you have, the more it allows you to do the charitable things you like to do the enjoyable things you like to do. It just does free it. And it's funny because people always say, like, money doesn't buy you happiness. But man, if it doesn't take away a lot of the nitpicky annoyances and frustrations in life that often happen, if you don't have to worry about money. In fact, like even with people in relationships, one of the primary things people fight about over and over is financial things, is money. And as soon as you find a method, and I think I've explained mine before on the show, for how you deal with those kind of things up front so that you no longer argue about money, it just takes a huge roadblock out of interactions with people. So, and that's Wayne's moment of non-geek today. No.
Relationship advice on Shrex.
Well, in the end, it's really, and what you're kind of talking about, although it's not really the way, it's just being efficient and economical about stuff. In a way, there's also ways you can go further with that if you want to tie it into what we do, which is gamifying it, to the point where you actually do look at, like, how well you apply the strategies to improve your performance and such. But I need to get back onto that, how to gamify your life. Anyhow, Ken, what else do you have that's not geeky this week before we transition over to geek? And some news this week, because I do have a lot to talk about there.
Let's see. I went out for a friend's birthday thing last night, and I got there. It was quite a busy pub, right? Really, really busy, really noisy. And I couldn't drink, and I realized there is next to no point in me being here. I can't hear anybody. I'm asking everybody what again and again every time they ask me anything. And I'm just sort of standing around doing nothing. I was like, there is no reason for me to be here, and I just left early. And I felt kind of bad for leaving, not because I was like sad about leaving. I felt bad more about, like, oh, it's her birthday, and I showed up, like, and just, like, wished her happy birthday, now I'm leaving straight away. Like, I feel kind of bad, but...
Hey, no, don't feel bad. You showed up.
Yeah.
I've had too many events like that I've had to go to where I am busy all the time, but I at least make the effort of getting there and saying, like, hey, how's it going, right? Don't feel bad.
Yeah, I can always see that, I can always say the main thing is that I showed up and said hi. That's always, you always show face at these events, right? Then nobody can get onto you if you do that. But I just felt bad because I didn't want to be there and be like the sad person at the party, like, oh, I'm deaf and I can't drink. I have an idle life for the party. I was definitely going to degrade it, so I just left early and played Fallout instead. Last thing I want to say is that I had a really good week in terms of work. Actually, things went really well this week, so I'm in a very good mood for that side of things. Things have been a bit stressy lately at uni, so I'm glad things are taking a little bit of a turnaround recently, so I am happy.
Good! That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Alright, so the one thing I will bring up is just sitting there, just for, if nothing else, archive purposes, for people to realize the date when this all aired, is unfortunately, in non-geek, non-tech, non-fun news, around the world, everybody should have already heard about it. Basically, the terrorist acts that had happened in Lebanon and Paris and multiple places around, where unfortunately a large number of people have been killed. And unfortunately at this point I don't think we have enough information to really talk about it, but it's just kind of
we do with the Paris side of things.
Well, did people specifically claim responsibility? I know there's a lot of conjecture to it, but I haven't seen a lot of evidence or proof that's come out yet.
I know that they're not ISIS anymore now, they're just IS, I believe, Islamic State, have actually claimed they've claimed responsibility, and they said it's an intentional act of war in response to the bombings that France has been doing elsewhere in the world. So that was the theory behind it. If you follow, I'm not going to talk politics here in the show more than this is exciting. This could easily venture into rather heavy your opinion.
Yeah, this could get a whole different. Yeah.
So, in order to avoid that sort of side of things, I'm just going to simply say, if you want to see any more on this topic of my opinions on it and my thoughts and emotions, feel free to go see on Twitter, because I can assure you that it's filled with them there, filled to the brim. But otherwise, best wishes to the families and friends of all the victims of all the bombings going around the world right now, not just in Paris. There are things around the world. It is easy to just look at the ones that are close, of the countries that are closely related to ours, but there are third world countries out there who are going through this daily as well, and just as equally evil things going on there as there are here. So best wishes to all of you, and hopefully we can all move on and hopefully one step closer to peace each day. Hopefully. All right, sir, you want to go into?
All right. So with that, yeah, as I say, I don't have anything that's really non-geeky this week, so it is perfectly appropriate for us to kind of switch things over and start out with a little bit of...
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek Cred, level up!
So this week on Geek Cred, let's see. Since I had you talk so much there, I will start talking about what I've got for Geek this week. And let's see, how do I start it? So, well, that'll tie into news later, but I'll just say, so the main game that I've played in the last week or so now has been the new release of Call of Duty Black Ops 3. And so you continue to hear little updates from me about that each week as we go forward, because the VTW clan online has been doing what it tends to do. I mean, we have our ups and downs, but for the most part, our win ratio is pretty darn solid. Big difference from what we had done in the past with Black Ops 2 is that we are focusing on prepping ourselves for going into the arena mode in Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which is essentially their ranked play that you can actually see how well you're doing against everyone else, and could potentially lead into us going to some tournaments and participating in some actual competitive play. With that does run in some of the non-hardcore team play, so softcore mode, which is a challenge for a lot of our players because we played pretty much exclusively team deathmatch hardcore mode in Black Ops 2. Where the difference being between the two, in hardcore mode you do not get a mini-map unless you have a UAV up, you do not see where your friends are at, and you have the damage is significantly increased so that basically one shot can often kill you, as well as you can kill teammates. Friendly fire is an issue. In softcore, all of those things are not. You have a mini-map, you can see where your friends are at, and you cannot do any team damage, so you can basically just throw grenades and shoot randomly at anything that moves, and if you get hit markers, the X's that show up with damage, you just keep shooting until you kill them. But we've been doing this in softcore, which honestly doesn't feel nearly as bad as I thought it would going in because I'm used to the quick twitch and just pull the trigger and kill people. On softcore, it takes a couple shots and you have to track. It allows for a little more like dueling effects, but essentially you can still die really quick. And so it doesn't feel as bad as some of the previous versions where it felt like you had to expend entire clips of rounds just to kill somebody. So it's kind of, I actually feel like they got a good balance on it. But we've been doing that, and in Team Deathmatch, we've been killing a lot of teams. Paz continues to be insane for his kill-to-death ratio and how good he is at the game. He's already prestiged twice in the game, which means he's made it up to level 55 in the multiplayer and then said, yeah, that was good, let me start over. And he's done that now twice through and is going through leveling on his 3rd level of prestige. And I don't know if there's a limit to how many times you can do it in this one or not. But so he's just wrecking stuff. Campo continues to be quite good. And our whole team, including those of the likes of Man vs. Toaster now. It was Man with a Plan. Miss Wolfie and Cal and myself and who else do we have jump in with us? Pause in there so he can list everybody else as well. But we just joined in with a new guy that's playing with us. He's in IRC today, Wrath, who's probably going to pick up the VTW clan tags here as well. As we do continue to expand, but we're trying to be careful because, you know, we try to make sure we have people that are not going to bring the name down by having any, like, on the Steam they show it as VAC bans, but places, anything that you've done while gaming online where someone's been able to complain about you potentially cheating and getting reported for that and having an account flagged or banned because of that. We want to make sure, because we do as well as we do in the game, that we have to, like, ensure we don't get banned, right? That we don't have people on our team that can make it seem questionable, because every time we play, people call us hackers. And so to help avoid that, we don't want someone to be able to look back and say, well, but you have a VAC ban on you from like 10 days ago. You know, that means you just got this account opened up and you're likely, there are other reasons to get VAC bans, but you're likely in there for cheating at some point. Running bots or something like that. So anyhow, we've been doing that. It's been great fun, as well as still playing some hardcore team deathmatch, and in the modes getting ready for arena a bit. Other than that, the multiplayer side, I actually spent a moment playing through. I've been playing through with my brother Earth most of the campaign. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through or so with that, which has been surprisingly fun since they have the 4-player co-op campaign that's in Black Ops 3 that they got rid of in Halo. Well, they changed split screen piece, but as well as they have. So the campaign's been engaging and fun. It's brutal. It does some trippy stuff like Black Ops do, where it's kind of like mine kind of things happening. But it allows for some interesting gameplay and them running through crazy worlds and stuff like that. And the graphics are phenomenal. The story's a little convoluted, but so far I've enjoyed it. Another mode that I did not touch other than once and had no idea what I was doing on Black Ops 2 is the zombies mode. What?
Just think, that was my favorite mode in the previous games. I loved zombies, and it's not, well, at least it wasn't in the past, like a non-obvious thing. I mean, you go around shooting zombies. You're playing single player though. That's the problem, right?
Well, so this time playing it, we played with 4 of us initially. 3 of us through some of it, but because Fork got on, I want to say it was Fork. Was it Cal and Man that also were playing with us? I'm not entirely sure, but there were 4 of us playing through the zombie mode for a bit, and it was a lot of fun. The graphics are great, and one of the things they did in Black Ops 3 is they put you in like an old school time frame where it's a story being told of you being possessed. Your soul's been, so whatever reason, you guys have been tagged by, evil forces, and all the zombies are coming after you for it. And from hearing from the other guys who were playing, talking about the second one, about Black Ops 2's version versus this one has much more expansive maps that you're able to get back and forth into. And one of the things that you run into in this one was like they apparently had a train in the first one as well, but this one there's a little like overhead car that you can call at some point and go through. But the whole point of the zombies mode is you have to survive as many waves as you can, and as you play through, you get points, essentially cash, that you can spend in game for killing zombies, as well as for repairing parts of the world they destroyed, these windows that they start breaking through, to initially get some funds and kind of last through some waves. But the problem is they start you with essentially a knife and a pistol, or in this case a revolver, that you only have so many shots on after reload, and you only have a limited amount of ammo as a whole. But as you play through, and the zombies get stronger, because initially you can just knife and single kill zombies. And everyone's saying that the difficulty ramps up much faster compared to previous ones. By wave 3, the zombies take 2 hits at least to kill, and then 3 very quickly after that, up to, I think, the worst I saw that we survived was like 4 or 5 knife hits to kill per zombie, so it was quickly you need to start switching over to guns. But the problem is you have to earn money from killing the zombies, repairing the world, to go buy better guns from different places around the world. There's also things they've added, like there's now a gumball machine that's in the world, and gumballs that you get that when you buy them, it activates special kind of abilities or things, like how long it increases the time you have to bleed out. It does things like more damage or better sprinting or things like that, just little buffs essentially that you can buy in-game, but everything in-game costs money, including expanding the world. So as you play through, one of the things, you start in a very limited area, open a gate, but it costs like 1,000 points to open the gate. Yeah. And it costs however many points to buy a gun or to reload the gun. And so with that, it becomes just more and more difficult as it goes, but it's actually quite fun, and you have to coordinate with your group, because if you get too far off, someone gets killed or gets knocked down and you can't go pick them up in time and they die, it's the end of the round for everybody and the end of that match. And so you want to be able to stay close enough to support each other, both that and because when you're reloading or just waves of zombies come in, no one person can take them all out. But had a lot of fun playing through that. I think we only made it up to, my highest round was like 5 or 7 so far, as we're learning this massive level that you started. And there's apparently multiple maps, and this one level itself seems like it has a ton of replayability, by just in the one. So that was fun. Quite interesting. The other thing that we checked out in it, and this is only due to Paz actually kind of mentioning it while we were shooting around playing normally, but there's a mode in the game called Free Run under the multiplayer level, which I thought, oh, this will just let you go through different levels and probably let you, as a team, kind of coordinate and figure out how you want to, like, strategy for how you do a level. No, this is actually, because they added parkour into the game as a way to wall run and double jump, basically with little boost packs and things like that, what they created was almost a Mirror's Edge style of parkour courses that you can go play in. And they're kind of these digital things we start into raise, really cool, like middle of nowhere, just walls and ground. And I've seen this often as a tutorial type thing that you'll see in multiple different games about movement. It's always like a movement tutorial. This is how, we want you to go learn to crouch, to slide, to wall run, to jump, all these things. But now they've created this entire parkour course, and they time it. And so you're supposed to try to get through as fast as you can. And in doing so, there's leaderboards across everyone in the world who's playing this about how quickly they've, made it through matches. And it's surprisingly fun. And the worlds get much more difficult as you go up them, and more skill that you have to pull off with specific timing. I finally, the beginner course is pretty easy. The second one I did, I actually fell off the world at one point just because I misgauged my thrust and how much boost I had. And so I boosted and I was like, oh, I've got plenty. And then I ran out and fell off the world, at which point it starts you at the last checkpoint and you just keep going. But following up with that was we were playing today. It's funny because Wolfie and Paz from VTW Clan have been having this kind of back and forth battle on Free Run, separately than what we normally play, where they're going for score, see who gets the fastest speed. And it's bad because they're both good, for one. I scored, I was like 25,000th in the world so far with my initial run through each level. Well, these two, I think I saw Paz was at, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere around 400th in the world on one of the matches they're fighting against. And Wolfie was like 100 below or something like that, like had gotten just a few seconds faster, or moments of a second faster, that put her like 100 positions above Paz or faster than Paz. And so Paz is actively trying to catch up with Wolfie, and then I think it was Man or Cal that was jokingly saying, nope, Wolfie's playing Free Run, she can't let you get that close. Next thing you know, Wolfie dropped like another 100 spots and is at like 200 something in the world, or something like that for one of the maps that they're on. But it's just like a cool additional piece to it now that they've added the parkour element. That's surprisingly fun. And so kind of my thing I just want to say about Black Ops 3 as a whole is this has been one of the more robust games I've played in a while, with the features, the modes, and how they've played it, where it does feel like a full-price AAA title and getting your money's worth. And I think that's pretty slick. Alright, other things I want to talk about briefly for my Geek Cred this week is that I've been watching and seeing a few shows and movies. all of which I think are geeky. One thing that I saw just recently is the movie Antman, the Marvel movie, which first I was like, no desire to see, and then I saw enough commercials for it. I thought, okay, this looks silly and fun. I kind of care now. Now that I've watched it, I will say that I enjoyed it. It was, to me, it was a good movie. It was not by any means a, Avengers or that kind of massive, huge action flick, but it was a good movie, had a decent story, and was nice because they did, like all of these comic-type shows and movies are doing, cross over really well with other things. Where it's not, the Ant-Man doesn't just exist in its own world. It starts with initial storyline, and I won't spoil it, but where Dr. Pym, known from the comics, the one who creates the Ant-Man suit and everything, he essentially has a thing back and forth with Tony Stark's father from back in the day.
Okay.
Because the whole technology thing and being these top scientists in the world, being able to pull off these different theories and stuff, all these scientists knew who they were, and they were kind of either working for or around each other, and little tit-for-tats, kind of things. And so it's neat that they pull it right into the world from the get-go, and you see that, yep, we exist along with everything else. Along with the Avengers, along with, everything else Marvel. So I thought that was pretty slick. So I enjoyed it. I'll leave it at that. The other two I want to talk about show-wise is I've been binging on The Flash. On Netflix, they had, it's like 16 episodes, 15, 16 episodes. No, scratch that, 22 episodes or whatever. I'm up to like the last one I'm about to go into. As I was editing photos this week and trying to clean out some of my backlog of photos I have. And I really, really enjoy The Flash. It is such a good break between the Arrow and The Flash in the sense that the Arrow is the Batman of what they're doing on television. It's the dark, gritty, it's heroes that are based on I have money and a awkward past that makes me want to fix things, not having actual powers themselves so much. Where The Flash is all the capes and cowls and what they call metahumans, the ones that have been hit by this particle accelerator that gave them all magic, basically abilities, right? The kind of classic superhero abilities. And it's been a way for them to introduce classic characters from the DC world. And Flash being the ultimate Boy Scout good guy who's just having, it's a great way to, and yet they exist in the same world in the towns that are right next to each other, or about 600 miles away from each other. And so they use that to conveniently do a ton of crossovers. And I will tell you that those crossover episodes are some of my favorite. And I forget which one it was, but there was one recently where in The Flash, he's got a team of people, well, they both have teams of people supporting them, that have their own abilities. In The Flash, one of the guys, he's just like a real tech geek guy who creates all the gadgets they use. He created the Flash suit based off of the fireman suit he was working on. All these stuff where they're working at Star Labs and he has all these resources, does these things. He's also in the series like an actual comic book and pop culture geek, and that he's watched like all the movies out there. So and they make references to things that I am so mad other movies don't do. It's why I always talk about zombies and stuff, where nobody will call it a zombie in a zombie movie. They're reanimated or they're whatever, right? The infected.
The walkers,
Yeah, it's stupid stuff where it's like, they're friggin' zombies! Just say they're zombies. We all know what zombies are. Well, in this one, because he's done all the pop culture references, he's constantly referencing movies, shows, and media like that about things he's telling people. It's like, wow, that was really this kind of moment. And then he'll be like, what, did nobody ever see this movie? And stuff, and like they had one in this one that was like, well, that was very Terminator-like or something. And things like that. And so they just reference all this other pop culture. It's great to see something that's self-aware in doing that. Also, because he's such basically a nerd, he's the guy who in the show, whenever they have a metahuman that they're taking on, he gives them a name. And so he's the one who's like, oh, this guy uses ice, and we'll call him Captain Cold. Yeah, and this guy uses this, we'll call him this, right? And that's like one of his shticks, or one of his things in the series, is that he's the one that comes up with the names. But they use it to such a good way, where there's even like a gal who in it kind of teased him at a piece. She's actually a villain, but he thought was a good girl that was trying to like seduce him. And he gets really pissed off when he finds out she's a villain and was just using him. And he gets but he's also kind of the geek who like appreciates, oh, a hot girl's, hitting on me. I'm a geek. Heck yeah. But then when he finds out, he's all like, ooh, but you're evil. And no. But she kind of teases him, is like, hey, you've given everyone else a name. What about me? Give me a name. And so she continuously like flirts with him, even though all this bad and stuff like that, and just kind of tease it. It's good fun. They just do so much in the show that is entertaining, just in its purest way. Even to a point where there's a crossover show where he goes back to Sterling City, where the Arrow is, and in meeting someone there, finds another one of the characters that Arrow works with, and this character kind of pulls him aside and says, like, hey, you know so-and-so, right? Barry Allen, you're his friend? Hey, you should come talk to me. And as they're chatting, she goes, so you make all the tech, right? He's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? It's like, no, I know who everyone is, blah, blah, blah. Well, I need you to, could you kind of tweak this thing I have, this piece of tech I have? And he's like, what? Yeah, I will, because he gets so geeked out about working with the superheroes that he just loves that he's like everybody across both shows, tech guru, and like creates all their special devices and stuff like that. And it's just like Felicity from the Arrow is everybody's like genius hacker girl, where she comes over to the Flash on occasion and does hacker things. It's just, they do such a good job mixing the worlds, and I like both shows for their own reasons, the grittiness of the Arrow and just the straight capes and cows fun of the Flash. And this is from someone who hated DC, but man, if I haven't got into these two shows. So that's the last piece on that. The last thing I'll note just real quick is I started to binge, or not really, I was trying to go to bed last night, but I wanted to stay on the couch and be all childish and be under my blanket and watch something as I went to bed. And so I was like, what can I put on? Because I can't finish watching The Arrow because I need to pay attention, right? I actually care about this. So another one I saw in there, I kept hearing about it forever. It's a show that's been on for a long time, and everyone told me I should watch. And I just hadn't, right? And I think I'd seen a piece of it once, and it was like, whatever. I saw on Netflix. It's like, oh, they have like 10 seasons now. Holy crap. But I don't know, Ken, you've maybe seen it. A lot of people I know have, so I'm late to the game. But the show's Supernatural.
Oh, I hate Supernatural, dude.
Do you? Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's a chick flick. It's just a long-running chick flick. It is designed to have two guys who are like, oh, I'm so gruff. Listen to my voice be gruff. Oh, I'm so manly. I pretend I don't have feelings, but then I do, just so the women will like me on the show. Yes. It's horrible.
You're so saying pandering. It's 10 seasons of, fanfic?
It is. It really is.
Well, so I've only seen the first episode now. But what I liked about it was that it was being honest, at least in the first episode, of doing some kind of creepy folklore, ghost story type of episodes that reminds me, as close as you can, that we don't have today, of the X-Files. In the sense of, they're dealing with no crap supernatural things. X-Files different, where it's like, is it true? Is it not? Is it a hoax? This one's going into stories that are actually real things. And in the first episode, one of the stories they brought up was specifically, essentially a wife who had killed her kids and her soul can never be, or mom, sorry, who could never be at peace because of doing this, and so walks by roadways or waterways as a ghost. And the story goes that if you ever see a kind of a female hitchhiker middle of the night, don't pick her up, because she's likely this ghost that will then take you away, kill you, and you'll never be heard or seen of again. And what I liked about that is this is a story that has been around folklore forever. You go back and there's lots of stories of things like this. And I had heard about it the first time, that kind of folklore, from my ex-wife down in New Mexico. They had a very specific one where they talked about a gal who had died by the river or something, and you shouldn't go down by the river at night because she'd pull you in. And it was basically the exact same story. So hearing them do this in the show, one already kind of grabbed me, where I was like, nice, they're doing research on real, folklore and legends that are out there. Cool. And just how they did. And the nice thing is, because it is a no-crap supernatural show. It's not just, is it real or not? It's like, nope, we're dealing with it. Ghosts are real, all these things, and here it is. And so they actually did it with some creep, where it was kind of like some of the episodes, it was kind of like, that was a bit scary. Interesting.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool.
That's cool, yeah. The other thing I really dislike that you wouldn't have seen yet, but the thing that I dislike yet...
One episode.
Yeah, exactly. Is way later on in the seasons, I'm not trying to give away spoilers here, the plot, there's a dramatic plot...
hole? Or twist?
No, not hole. Plot sequence where it goes towards a certain ideology, a certain set of supernatural things, and then at the end, when they finish with that sect, they go from this, like, universe-ending kind of stuff, like huge supernatural kind of things, back again to like, oh look, a werewolf.
Interesting. You're saying that
kind of
they
what's the
built up
point?
so much that it should have been like a show ender or something like that.
Yeah,
but instead they just said, we're really popular and need to keep going, so just let's keep going on the story. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Listen, and that's the thing. I'll check out more of it because at the moment I'm like, cool, and I know too many people who are ridiculous fans. But I thought it was interesting to see that as I just kind of jumped in.
Are they male or female?
Admittedly, most of the people I know who are fans are female.
Maybe
Well,
you
because
should
also,
also
like-
watch P.S. I Love You.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a really...
Why do you know this, Ken?
It's a romance film that the kid made me watch like 2 years ago. And oh my god, it made me well up and almost cry, and it's a total girly thing. So
You like girly stuff. It's okay, Ken. I understand. That beer doesn't... it contains some of the Scottish emotion, but you have that tender inside underneath it. That's fine. Anyhow, that is what I have done that has been Geek this week. Oh, wait! I have one last thing that's not show-related such, and it's not been successful yet. But that is that with the 3D printing and stuff that I do, I finally have tried to start taking this archaic device that no longer gets used, which is my Xbox 360 Kinect, and trying to go through all the tutorials and stuff online about how to connect it to the PC and use it as a 3D scanner. To actually be able to scan real-life objects into the 3D
cool.
models so that I can then turn around and 3D print them. And so... I'm not there yet. I've got it connected and computers see it, but none of the 3D scanning software that I want to use sees it correctly. And so I have to, manhandle it in a way to make technology work. So that's my current struggle. But other than that, that's what I've been doing, Geeky. And so, sir, I turn it over to you to talk about what you've been doing and to set up for what I'll play for music during the break.
well, as I was saying, Copy has it down to a T. Ken only watches the Felicia Day episodes of Supernatural, she says.
I forgot that she was in that one. That's right. This is again how... Well, it's funny too, right? Because the one thing when I started watching is it said, like, this show started in 2005. I was like, oh, crap. I didn't realize it'd been going that long. When I saw that it had 10 seasons, I was just like, ooh. So, yeah. Anyhow, sir, what have you been up to?
Speaking of girly romance films, the other day I was in a hell of a lot of pain, and Ken was like, "Oh, let's spend time together," and I was like, "Okay, what do you want to do? As long as it involves not moving, staying still, and somewhere where I can like weep into you and go, I'm sore, and get sympathy. I don't care what we're doing." And she was like, "Okay, you chose the place. I'll choose what we're doing." And so she put on a romance film. As girls often do. So she put on The Painted Veil, 2006 film. It's an American drama film directed by John Curran. Curran. Screenplay by Ron Neisweiner is based on the 1925 novel of the same title by W. Somerset Maugham. I don't know. It's the third film adaptation of the book, and I actually quite liked it.
So continuing the theme.
Yeah, it cost them $20 million to make, and they got $26 million back from the box office. So it wasn't anything spectacular from the looks of it. But I quite enjoyed it. No, I didn't enjoy the other one. P.S. I Love You made me. I hate watching ones that make me sad. I just don't want to watch them. That is not fun.
Yeah, we had that discussion before about
sad.
why do we do this. Yes, why do people do this to themselves?
Some people enjoy it. Good for them. I don't want to do it. Anyway, so we watched this. I say we. About 2/3 of the way into the film, I laugh at something the dude in it said, and I turn and look at a kitten, and she's lying there asleep. Like, you made me watch this.
So the question goes then, at that point, do you feel so invested in the story and film that you've already been watching that you continue, or do you quickly leave it on, walk away, and go start playing a game?
I was tempted to go play Fallout 4. I'm not going to deny that. But no, I stayed. I was a good husband. I did my duties of staying with her while she slept and being like, "Oh, look, I did it for you." And to be fair, I was enjoying the film. I'm not going to lie.
I was going to say the truth, kid.
I was playing through. We're watching that. It's basically this film about this guy who's a bacteriologist who comes back to London, for whatever reason, for work or whatever. And he meets up with some friends. One of them's like, "Hey, do you want to marry my daughter?" He's like, "Yeah, okay." So they meet up to get. So they decide to get married, and he takes her off to Shanghai, where he works.
Okay.
So this is in the trailer and stuff. So I suppose there's a bit of a giveaway of what happens. But basically,
I'm never gonna see it.
Yeah. She married the guy to get away from like her home and family, and she was being judged for not being married yet. So she really just wanted to get married quickly. So she does, and she's quite unhappy with her marriage. She's like the guy's really happy. He's deeply in love with her. He's having the best time, but she just doesn't feel anything for him.
Well, yeah. Ooh.
So
okay.
Yeah.
That's it. That
she
echoes so
cheats on
much
him.
in real life.
So she cheats on him with another guy, and he finds out. And since back then, this kind of thing's a big scandal. He said he basically said to her, "I've signed up to go and fight off this horrible disease in this village, where there's an unchecked epidemic, cholera." And he's like, there's almost very little chance of surviving, but somebody's got to do it. I want you to either come with me or we're filing for divorce tomorrow.
Wow.
And she was like, "Oh, I can't make a scandal and ruin this guy's life that I cheated with because I love him." And he's like, "Okay, don't care. They'll come die with me then." So they kind of go off together to this village. And to cut a long story short, they make things better in the end. But then something dire happens at the end within this cholera.
One of them dies.
Who'd have thought? Yeah. So it's kind of sad. It's trying to pander to emotions and stuff, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay, to be honest. I wouldn't say it was the best film ever. I really enjoyed the main character, the dude, because he was quite genuine, very logical, good career, and he was just kind of innocent and sweet. And then she morally bankrupts him. As soon as he catches her cheating, he's just like, gloves off, I'm done. And he just lets loose. He just says, "That's it. I am done with you." He's like, "I'm gonna go kill myself. You're welcome to come die as well, I guess." He hates her, and he does stuff like the trip to this nearby village from Shanghai. It's like a 2-day trip by boat, or like 8 days by walking in the searing sunshine, and he does the latter just because she would enjoy it. He just keeps doing stuff that's like, "Well, up yours, you cheated on me."
Wow.
Screw you. And it's good. It's just so satisfying because I was rooting for him because I was like, she cheated on you. She accepted the marriage. Yeah, you kind of goaded her into it, but she accepted it in the end, and yeah, she kind of deserves it. And so I don't know. I thought it was quite a good film because mainly because of that guy. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, you just kind of liked how he reacted to everything and his answer to this.
I love films where nice guys how does the quote go?
Which
when
one? Nice guys finish last, or
run, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, when nice guys go, war demons run. I love that, and that's what happened here. Like the girl was she totally used and abused him and cheated on him, and he was just having none of it. And I love that. He just manned up and did what he had to do. It was great. So I enjoyed it for those reasons. Would I recommend it? Probably not to most of this audience, to be honest.
Gotcha.
But I still had fun, so whatever.
Well, nice.
Right. With
that, with that, then, how about we take a break and then come back with the rest of your Geek Cred for the week, and then we will transition on and talk about some news, because there are a lot of articles that need to be brought up, and hopefully before they become stale. So, with that, you're listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com, and we'll be back after this song, anime theme, so hopefully it doesn't get us in trouble here, but a show that also goes into relationships and stuff like that, but a little differently. So anyhow, we'll be right back after this.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com. listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as a heads up, after the show, make sure you come and jump into the TeamSpeak and come and play with us at VTW Productions. You can check out the information for the TeamSpeak for our gaming night tonight on our front page, on the left side of the front page of VTWProductions.com, right under our play button where you can listen to the shows. I know I will be in after the show today, and hopefully we'll have a bunch of other people jump in. We'll figure out what we're going to play this week. And there's that. Just to let everyone know, our TeamSpeak is provided to us by Typefrag. If you yourself are looking out there and want to host any kind of gaming services networks for your own group out there to game with, check out Typefrag. They offer some great deals and some great servers with very reliable service. I don't think we've ever had a problem with our server. So, note on that. All right, Ken, if you would be so kind as to finish this up with what you've been doing for Geek Cred this last week.
Sure thing. So I also did something that I probably shouldn't have done. I don't know why. I always make myself feel bad whenever I buy anything. I always do. I always look
because you're trying to be financially secure.
I'm a completely. I don't know. I'm so boring with money, generally speaking, and I have to be convinced to do anything fun, pretty much ever. So I actually went and bought Hearthstone's new expansion, the entire thing. The whole £14, not just a wing, the whole thing. And I've been really enjoying it. I always enjoy the Hearthstone expansion, so I'm really glad I did it, because even though only the first wing out of 4 is unlocked in the moment, it means for the next month I'm going to have content every single week, and I'm going to enjoy it. I've already finished it. I finished the whole thing, the first wing, in 2 hours easily. But lots of fun, lots of new cards that are some very silly, some very powerful, some I can't see myself ever using. But it's a nice mix, and I'm looking forward to unlocking the rest over time. I do enjoy Hearthstone. It's the kind of thing that I never aim to play to be good at. I aim to play. What I enjoy from it is I like to make one deck that I think is cool. For example, the rogue deck that I have that makes the enemy pick up cards until they run out of cards and start taking damage instead. Nice. The deck burner card, deck burner deck. Yeah, I like that one. That's the deck I really enjoy. So I love playing that one. And this week I also made a shaman deck, which is based almost entirely out of totems, and it's surprisingly good.
Nice.
It's not the case that it wins frequently. Same with any of the decks I have. It's more a case that when I win, it's satisfying because it's annoying to the enemy.
It's one of those, you at least understand what it is you made, and so when you do win, you're kind of like, that's funny. I maybe shouldn't have.
Yeah, like it's just a ridiculous. I like to do things that are generally unexpected and might not work all the time, but when they do work, it makes them curse. You know, like they had no way of getting ready for that kind of thing to happen. So I enjoy that. I also been playing the Tavern Brawls. I love those. They're good fun. There was one this week I'd never seen before, actually. It was the two players are playing, and it looks like a normal field in Hearthstone, a normal game, except there's one minion that jumps back and forth on each side. Okay. And it's the boss, and it's got taunt. So the idea is you and the other player are allied against this guy.
Interesting.
And you're given a specific deck. One's a priest, one's a paladin, I think. And all the cards in your deck assist the other person. They do things like, the zombie chow one. If you kill that zombie, your enemy gets healed. So in this case, your ally gets healed. And it's stuff like that. So it's quite cool. I like that kind of thing.
No, that is
a nice twist.
Actually, that's an interesting change to game mechanics. That's one of those complaints I know a lot of people have had about Hearthstone, is that they haven't yet incorporated enough different classic CCG type game modes and stuff. So having them add some is actually very cool to hear.
Yeah, well, it's only a random Tavern Brawl, so once every few weeks you might see that. But the current one right now, you can either play as Nefarian or Ragnaros, chosen at random, and you get all of the cards that you do in the like you would in a boss battle versus them, all their cards. So it's pretty cool. So you play as one of those, and they have ridiculously powerful hero powers along the lines of summon any random spell. It costs nothing.
Oh, jeez.
And it's just like, that could be like you get an instant 10 damage Pyroblast, or you could get like a stupid thing that freezes one minion. So it's fun. It's fun because you don't know what might happen. I like that. So I've been really enjoying Hearthstone. I always do. Hearthstone's awesome. What else? I've been playing Killing Floor 2. So before I managed to go and get myself Fallout, I was playing Killing Floor quite a lot.
Yes, before falling into the black hole of the wasteland.
Well, the thing is, to me, Killing Floor has never been the kind of game that I play consistently. It's the kind of thing that I do frequently return to, much like Magicka. It's not one that I binge on. It's one that I play. Well, I suppose it is consistently over years. I come back to every month or every 2 months and play a little bit more, and I enjoy that. Just the way I like to play games. Yeah, I know I'm strange that way. So I've been enjoying that. I've been managed to get my classes leveled up to a point where I actually get benefits for having leveled up classes, which is quite fun. So I'm enjoying that. I'm getting things like the ability to, if I play support, like my allies can come by up to me and get a free grenade off me, just by walking near me.
Just walk by.
Little
Hey, here you go, pineapple. Thanks.
Yeah, it's very useful. So that's cool. Enjoying that. I look forward to going back and playing that again. But the main topic I want to talk about today, Fallout 4. Now, first of all, have you played it at all, sir?
No, I do not own Fallout 4.
Do you plan to?
Eventually.
Okay.
Well, here's the whole point. You should not spoil this game. It is less than like a week out.
Oh, I'm not going to spoil it.
Well, I say it specifically because even though it's kind of news-ish, one of the things I've seen is I started to try to read a review or two of Fallout 4 on the day it was launched, and holy crap, if every outlet out there didn't just go straight forward and spoil everything in the game. Started spoiling, and people say oh, you can't spoil the first hour of the game. It's like, yeah, you can. Because if I haven't played it and there's major storyline elements, I might want to experience that for myself when I play it, not know it's already so I just wander through it like nothing.
So how about I avoid story and I go instead and I might mention one little thing, but generally speaking, I'll talk about mechanics.
Yes, that would be good.
Okay, so the one minor thing, you'll see in the trailer and stuff as well, is that you play either as the mother, or the father. So you gotta go male or female. And either which way, you have a son, and his name's Sean. And from then on out, that's as far as I'm going to say. But later on in the story, Sean becomes a character in the game, etc., etc., that is prominent in the storyline. But at the start, he's a baby, right?
Yeah.
So one of the funny thing that I saw, one of these mods that are going around already, hilarious mod that allows you to shoot from your what are they called? Your Fat Boy, the thing that shoots mini nukes, the big ass gun that shoots mini nuclear launches.
Has somebody already made a baby launcher?
They replaced the animation with baby Sean's. Your baby, your child.
Oh, that's so bad.
So funny. It's so fun. And then there's a video of it on YouTube. It's only had 800 views when I saw it. But it's just so funny. The mod description as well. Yeah, I found it already. It's called Atom Bomb Baby. It's got 52,000 views now. There's the link in the IRC. It's ridiculous. Oh, it's so bad.
Well, so it's funny, right? Because really one of the news articles or things about Fallout 4 specifically was that within the first day, modders were already prepared to mod the heck out of the game. And so it was, they already released mods from the get-go. And so seeing something like this already out there is funny, and I'm watching that video. Only disappointment is I don't see any physics on the baby. It just shoots it out straight. It would be so much more entertaining if the baby actually flew along or went out more like a missile instead of flat. If it went head first. Have it bounce once or twice and then blow up?
Yeah. They made some silly noises, I don't know.
As it flies out.
Oh, too funny.
Feel the nuking of it. But no, that's actually something that's very cool about the game, is just how mods already exist and are epic. And go Bethesda for having a moddable game. But that's funny. Oh, yeah. I like that.
In terms of problems with the game, bugs and stuff, I've encountered next to none. I
that's
saw
good.
my first one today, and it was a floating can, and that was pretty freaking minor, to be honest. So
nothing game breaking. Yeah, nothing game breaking. No plot like stopping quests or something like that. It seems to be working.
Not yet.
Okay.
I say yet intentionally because as always, this will eventually change.
Yeah, once you start
Hopefully
modding.
that'll be a little while away before I find any major errors. But no, I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. Lots of fun. The ability to do crafting in the game is so large, I was almost afraid to touch it. There's so much stuff.
Intimidating?
It really is. Genuinely is very intimidating. So I don't know if I finally went into it and I have started doing stuff, but there's so much that you can do with it. It's so open. It's so difficult to do without spoiling, but there's so much you can do with the game in terms of crafting. Lots of fun, cool things as well, not just boring things. The one thing that I would recommend to any is, personally, when I play these games, I don't play it for realism. This is not a game that you think, oh wow, this is exactly what it would be like if it was nuclear fallout. No, this is a fun game. And to me, it's not very fun when you have the tiniest amount of capacity on your back. Okay? Because right now, as it stands, you can carry, more than is physically possible of a human being.
Yeah.
But it's still not enough to be make the game enjoyable. I don't have a fun time.
You
minutes,
like
I have
it.
to run back.
Yeah, you want to have a bag of holding in this game so that you can pick up everything.
Yes, so what I recommend you do is effectively that. You go along and you type in player.av set bag weight whatever 10 billion or something.
So
that's what I did.
So it's funny. What she basically said is you can go into the INI and directly change the game so that you don't even have to get I'm saying you don't even have to grab a mod, right? You're essentially just
the console, dude. It's just the console inside the game.
You're just removing the weight restriction that is on your game for your players' characters. That's funny.
Yep. For me, it's not about... it's not cheating. For me, it's more along the lines of changing the options of the game. And plus, with the massive amount of crafting you can do in the game, everything has a use. So if you're walking by a random room and you see, I don't know, a toy car, you think to yourself, how could that possibly be useful to thee? Then you think, this game has a very large crafting system. Maybe I should pick that up. But then again, should I pick that up or the nice laser rifle in front of me?
There's
and then it becomes
challenge,
to the point where I'd have to choose. I don't want to have to choose. I want to enjoy the whole game. So that's what I have done.
That's funny. Oh wow! So I went to, for anyone who has picked up Fallout 4, one of the places you should go to if you haven't yet, if you're on a PC basically, go to nexusmods.com under Fallout 4 because this is basically the main storehouse for where mods that are going to be based around Fallout 4 exist. And to give one of the advantages of the PC is that the modding system is so good. This has happened with every Bethesda game. You can make it significantly prettier than how it was launched. And I say that because this is already one of the things about the Fallout 4 game is that it was built on the same engine as Fallout 3. And so it was basically they tweaked it, added better textures, did some of the stuff that modders had already done to Fallout 3 to make it look better and be the better game that it is. But because of that, a majority of those mods that already existed for Fallout 3 were just short of plug-and-play to Fallout 4, which is partly why so many of these mods exist already.
Nah, I'd recommend not. I don't think you should. And there's no point in enhancing the graphics. They're too high as is. My computer can't run them, so I guess nobody
Yeah, so
can.
no one else should be able to. Yeah, when was the last time you upgraded your PC?
Yeah, a couple of years. Well, I got an SSD last year, but that was a massive boost. But
yeah, you
still
just
not
made
enough.
it faster, just not more powerful.
Yeah. So I do highly recommend that you check whether you are capable of running something or not before you do. So it's a really, really fun game. I'm running on medium graphics and it's still beautiful, I've got to say. It's still, what I did is I just moved the, I put on recommended settings and then I put the God rays up to max.
Nice.
pretty God rays. So it's good fun. Really, really fun game. Really enjoy it. Highly, highly recommend it. I think it's definitely going to be worth the cost. And just be careful with your stats allocation. That's the only thing I'll say. I kind of regret a couple things I've done so far. But that's a personal thing.
Does this one or not have? I heard rumor that it was gonna have like an infinite upgrade where you can keep up, like leveling up forever, kind of deal.
I don't know, actually.
Or do you know? Because that's something I'd heard something about. Not 100% sure, but caught where they were kind of saying they were making sure they were, improving that so that you could go further.
Well, the system for leveling up is a fair bit different than before. First of all, there's no karma in this game. They've removed karma, which is good because who didn't pickpocket? Who did not steal? Making the game, because then everybody was just always evil in the other Fallout. So, and instead of making the game less enjoyable for people, they just removed the system, and that's the way it should have been in the first place. I'm totally okay with that. However, now you can see all the perks that you could possibly get in front of you all at once, constantly. Okay. But some are blocked off due to your stats in the first place. But now when you level up, you also have a chance, instead of putting it into a perk, you can put it into a stat instead. So you can make yourself have 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and have like nothing special about you otherwise, but you're still like the best guy ever, right? Yeah. So I, for example, I only had 2 strength, but then there was something I wanted in the strength tree, and so I gave myself one extra point into my S, and now I can afford it. I think it was gun nut or something actually, so I can get my own guns. Again, extensive crafting system. So I can't emphasize enough. Go play the game. Only thing that this isn't to do with necessarily with Fallout 4, but more the genre. I hate the fact that I am the lone wanderer, right? Yeah. I love just the quest says go here, and I go, what's that building over there though? What with that one? Or this quest is boring. I'm going to walk down south for 50 minutes and then stop wherever I stop.
So what you're talking about is the truly open gameplay nature, the sandbox that is the Bethesda way of building games. Yes, and the problem with it, however, is that it has its drawbacks. You can, sadly, be so open that, for example, and I don't want to give away any spoilers here because I had to go read the wiki afterwards to see what I stopped myself from enjoying. But I walked into this, a slight, tiny, minute spoiler. I'll just say there is a very inconspicuous area that I entered that looked like it was just an area of water, but it turned out to have this tunnel in it. And I went through it, and I showed up in this random base full of like mercenaries and scientists, and I was like, oh, they're shooting me, and I've already saved. Better kill them all. So then I looked online and saw, oh, I have, yeah, that's me now missing something here. Oh well. So. Well, so you say that. When I play any of those games, I just play. I try not to read any spoilers. I try not to look at anything else. I just have my experience. Get through the whole game and beat whatever the main storyline is. And then I've often had the discussions with people about all the things that I maybe missed or didn't experience. Yeah. Which sometimes make me want to go back and try them. Other times I'm just like, oh wow, that's just really cool that we had such different experiences in the same game. Because as long as I don't check anything, I've done nothing wrong. I've just played the game, right? And experienced my own thing. Wrong. Well, because I did that with Fallout 3, where I never, I went down one path of friending out one group versus another, and never saw any of the quest lines of some of these other groups, just because I wasn't friends with everybody, right? Yeah. Stuff like that. Just like, and I still to date have not done this. And it's Paz who basically told me, like, reminded me where he said in Fallout 3, he went to the first town with the nuke in it, and proceeded to blow up the whole town. Yep, Megaton decided to blow up the nuke, walked out, and then never played the game again. But it's one of those things that I never had the cojones to actually blow up the town and see what that did. No, me either. I always kept it there because there's so many people and things to do right there. It was right outside your vault, basically. I never experienced the rest of that. But that's just me. And I know people who have, and it's like, well, that's cool. So my one piece that I'll say back to that is that I love when a game is so open that you can go through in all these different ways. But I'm also the idiot who never got Knights of the Round on Final Fantasy or anything like that. So, but still beat it somehow. So anyhow, but yes. So you're saying that those rabbit holes can catch you in a way sometimes.
Yeah, so personally for me, I think I'm going to be... Like, another thing was, today I was there's a lot of random events in the game, and I was just in a random place doing a random quest, and there was this guy, a named guy... That's another thing, everybody's named. There's very few people called just, like, Settler.
Random? Nice.
Yeah, they usually have names, which also concerns me, because I'm like, I want to steal his gun because it looks tasty. Should I...
You never know. Yeah, you never know if someone's going to be important later.
Yeah, so that's always very, very, very annoying. Jeesh. So, also, the dog, you have a dog, he's great, except for the fact he's really, really, really everything you hoped he wouldn't be.
What?
Do you know what I mean by this?
No.
Think of any companion in a game. What is the worst thing they can do when they're running around with you?
Either aggroing things you don't want aggroed, or always being in your way. That's my two thoughts.
Both of those things this freaking dog does. So, I'm playing stealth one-handed.
So he sounds like a real dog.
I'm trying to be the kind of guy that goes around sneak, sneak, sneak. But when I'm in a battle, I have these amazing like cowboy gun skills. I want to be like the fastest shooter. But I'm also sneaky as hell, so I can like take out the town before they know it. Is what I want to know. So that's what I want to do. But I go in and I shoot one guy. Then my dog goes roof, roof, and just charges in. And I'm like, what are you doing? Now they know where we are, and now you're dead, and now they're running at me. Great, thanks for that. Thanks for all of your help. And then I'm trying to run out, and his corpse is like in a doorway, and so I'm trying to open the freaking command menu, and I'm saying, hey, dog, move over here. And he's like, and I'm like, you're in the way! You're in the way! Why are you here? You douche! Stupid dog! I say that enough in real life.
Exactly, right? Like I said, just like a real dog. So I've heard that, I don't know, I thought I heard there were ways to train the dog to act a certain way or another. And I am sure there will be mods specifically to make the dog's behavior different. I know people have already been modding in different looks for the dog so they can have their own pets from real life in the game. But I'm sure that will be addressed at some point. But that's hilarious.
That does appeal
let's
to me.
see. So, with that though, I think this is actually a good transition into news this week. Because for both of the games that we have talked about, I think there is a very specific article to bring up about it. So, we get into with...
Technology, news, and more today on the Geek-O-Scope.
And today on the Geek-O-Scope, I wanted to start out with some numbers. And essentially what these numbers are the sales numbers for the opening weekend of both Call of Duty and Fallout 4. So, the first one that talked about Call of Duty Black Ops 3 has generated, or in its first 72 hours, generated $550 million in sales.
Wow. Oh my god. That's
Yes.
obscene.
Opening weekend of Black Ops 3, $550 million. And what's crazy about that, I think they say it in this one, is that while, while it's not the biggest Call of Duty debut of all times, that goes to Black Ops 2, which broke $500 million mark in just 24 hours back in 2012. It's still significantly above, like 20% over the last one, Advanced Warfare. And this is a big deal for a game that had some decline because the last two Call of Duty games that came out were crap. And so it's actually surprising it came out as well as it did. But along those same lines for people, because I have seen it in my own personal Steam list as to knowing what anybody's been playing, there are only two games that exist right now. And that is Black Ops 3 and Fallout 4. Fallout 4, and I don't have the number right in front of me, but I remember reading, let's see, that it had made over, yep, there it is, $750 million.
So, sorry, it was Black Ops 550?
$550 for Black Ops 3. And you'll appreciate this. Fallout 4's launch, it says that the game shipped 12 million copies for launch day alone. Day one,
Jeez.
24 hours. with sales in excess of $750 million. Yeah. So they're talking about that Fallout 4 is already basically Game of the Year, has beaten everybody, has won everything, and has just made stupid amounts of money. So, with that in mind, if you are playing Fallout 4, should not feel like you are truly wandering the waste alone. Know that there are millions of other people wandering the waste alone as well. And that is pretty damn epic. Yes, I will likely pick it up, but I'm giving it some time because I'm focusing on the game I just bought with Black Ops 3. And Fallout 4 I know I'm going to be able to drop the hundreds of hours in, so I will take my time. But that was the first thing I wanted to bring up for news this week. I thought it was pretty damn impressive for both those, especially since they both came out basically within the same week. And it leads to a funny meme I've seen on social media where there's a picture of like a stadium and seating of a bunch of people in the audience. And you have these whole groups of people on either side of this single individual sitting in one section by themselves in the middle.
Yeah.
And the meme basically says, while at the same time, all the Tomb Raider fans are like, hey, Tomb Raider. Because apparently it launched also, and nobody knows.
Yep. I remember. Do you remember we talked about this like months ago? Tomb Raider announced their launch date, and we were saying, "Is that a good idea?"
Oh!
And I argued, "Well, they're different genres, so surely the different crowds will make." And my point is mute.
But the problem, right? There's been so much hype, especially for Fallout, which you can obviously see the results of, that it has been a game people have been looking forward to for quite some time. While the new Tomb Raider, I would like to play. It looks great. Yeah. But just like I have not picked up Fallout 4 yet, I am not going to pick up the new Tomb Raider while I am working on Black Ops 3 and then go over to Fallout while still having a whole library of games on this computer that need to be played. And so I'm trying to be more financially and fiscally sound by limiting to games I already own. Somewhat?
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe? Yes.
It's this time of the year. There's so many good games coming out that you just don't know whether to go out and buy the one you want or continue the one that you're also still enjoying, and so you don't need to change over.
Exactly. Oh, it's so bad. All right, so that was my first news article. Sir, what do you have? And if not, I have a whole bunch.
I have many. I actually want to talk, as soon as you mentioned about the Fallout mods, I actually wanted to just go through a few of them and talk about what was available right now, just because I think that's quite interesting to go.
I did go look at the Nexus at a bunch of them, so by all means.
So the number one Fallout 4 mod at the moment, oh sorry, I am very sorry, it's showing me the Vegas ones, wait. Nexus. Oh, that was weird, I noticed straight away because I saw the quality was separate. Okay. Files, top files.
Well, because the first things I've seen for some of the mods on there on the Nexus when I was looking through there's, again, texture ones. One of the first announcements what I saw in news was one that high-res textures have already been added to the game. There's various ones, because different texture modders out there focus on one thing or specific things. So, like in Skyrim, right, there's a person who just did flora and fauna, trees and bushes, and they were amazing, right? People who just do water, people who just do ground effects, people who just do skies. So I already saw they did 4K updates for most of the textures already in the game, where they basically pull the stock texture from the game, resample it into 4K for people that have the power to push that much texture. So that now if you're looking on like a 4K monitor or whatever high resolution, you look up the sky, it looks marvelous. And it still looks like the same sky, just much more sharp and better focus type deal. Same thing I've seen with Blood Texture mod. They've already done the upgraded blood textures. They've already done upgraded eye mods. Two of them I've seen. One that's just pretty eyes and one that's just 4K resolution mod for the in-game eyes. I saw a weight limit one, so basically where you could go into the config and just edit it, or into the console. Someone made it as a mod so that it can give you like an easy access to it as well. And what else did I see in there? Those are the main ones I noticed right off the bat.
Well, number one is the Fallout 4 config tool, right? To allow you to edit in-game options, especially mod options, making your life easier with modding. So probably the most important mod, right? Being able to mod.
Well, they have like two of those that support like how you mod here.
Yep.
Which are a big deal.
Next one's color vibrance one, so it's not necessarily changing. Again, not changing the game massively. It's just changing the default look and feel of the game, so it's a little bit brighter, which is nice. I actually might. These are things I'm going to be considering myself while reading through these. Number 3 was the Eyes of Beauty Fallout Edition. So
Yep.
you're saying high res. Enhanced blood textures, batch file all the junk. A batch file that adds 1,000 pieces of each junk item for crafting. Another file that adds 1,000 of every type of ammo, and a third that maxes out your special. So in other words, a cheating mod. Number 5. 6 is a stuttering and memory patch, which was used the same for Skyrim and Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Just
Same engine.
Memory.
Yep,
same thing. Very useful thing. Gorgeous Vault Girl. Are you struggling to create an attractive female in Fallout's new Play-Doh character generation? Tired of playing a ghoul? Look no further. I spent longer creating this face than is socially acceptable, so you don't have to.
That's funny.
That's good.
Well, because people have also famously gone back, and it's been happening in several games, but in fact there's a YouTube channel out there with someone doing it just in Fallout 4, basically modding celebrities into the initial character creation screen, so that, you know, the main person you play is a celebrity.
Some are very impressive, by the way. I've seen
yeah,
John
some are
Cena.
really good. Cena, of course.
Like him.
Of course somebody made Cena. That's funny.
Of course. Realistic weapon sounds, configurable power armor, fusion core drain, darker nights. I quite like that idea. Better rain, carry weight mod, called it. Vault suits recolors. This is a brilliant one. Lowered weapons, first person animation. Right now, if you're holding a big gun, it takes up half your screen. As it would in real life, because if you're first person, you're holding a gun, you're aiming, it's going to be in front of your face, right? But this one actually basically holds it down in front of you now, the way it should be.
When you're not shooting it, so you're not constantly running it with it in front of your face.
Exactly. Such a basic thing. 4K Pip-Boy, easy hacking, which is kind of... I don't like the hacking in the game. I think it's silly, so I'm glad that they've done that as well. But there's a whole bunch of things in there. Go check out if you're a Fallout fan, but there's huge varieties of things in there. So you're not lacking in anything, that's for sure. Huge variety.
That is for sure. Oh, let us see. No, and it's great to see that I'm so happy the game's out and that we're in a place where there's so many good ones. So many good ones. Oh, let's see. Most of my other articles in here are not like new game-related ones. They're more technology ones. But I do have a throwback game one that's just kind of a quick one to kind of throw out there. Changing pace a bit, but to see if people remember, because it's been so long, and this is before your time, Ken, but for all of us old school gamers, the article from Mashable comes up saying, can you remember all of the games that were released, and there were 18 of them, with the NES when it launched back in 1985?
No.
And the whole point of this one being that a lot of people remember a lot of the original games, or just playing them, but they don't remember what those games were. They just remember like, oh yeah, I remember playing that game, or remember some of these classics. But a quick rundown of some of those original games for people in the Wayback Machine are things like 10-Yard Fight, the old football game, the game called Baseball, Clue Clue Land, Donkey Kong Jr. Math. An actual math game was released at launch. Some of the classics everybody should know, like Duck Hunt and Excite Bike, the original Golf. I love how so many of the original games were just like a single name of the sport. Gyromite, which for those who don't remember was the showcase one for Rob, the robotic operated buddy that had the little spinning tops that would push like your second controller's buttons A or B, which is all the robot really did. So if you didn't have the robot, you just get the game and plug the second controller in and hit A or B. Ice Climber, one of my favorites from back in the day and still difficult, and I love playing arcades even now, Kung Fu, the game Mock Rider, Pinball, Stack Up, of course everyone's favorite Super Mario Brothers, the original Tennis, Wild Gunman, which was another very popular but people forget Zapper game along with Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley. Wild Gunman was like the other Zapper game. And Wrecking Crew. Those were the original launch titles for the NES back in '85. And it's funny because I played a lot of those games, but I forgot how many of those were actually launched versus came later. I thought Excite Bike came after the launch. Stuff like that. So it's just kind of interesting to catch like what was actually available the day you bought that game system. So just a little bit of throwback, but something I thought was cool.
That's cool.
All right, and then the last one of another throwback article that was Nintendo based, so it fits right in there. There was an auction or it was a estate sale, I think, that actually caused it. But do you remember the news of the old school rumored the thing that basically started the PlayStation, Sony PlayStation?
Oh, I remember the story of the story.
Yeah, so essentially what it was is back in the day, Nintendo and Sony were collaborating on what was going to become Nintendo's next game system. And in doing so, they made this kind of weird hybrid system that had basically SNES controllers, but had a CD drive in it, or it might have been a DVD even back then, as well as a stand-back cartridge slot in the back of it. Had both. Well, somebody got one from a sale, and it basically states in this that the interesting part was, okay, and all this news is that Nintendo's version of the PlayStation had around 200 prototype games built for it. And it wasn't until someone recently found one that they knew this. That person was Dan Diable and his father Terry, who bought it at a bankruptcy auction for only $75. And when they went through, he worked basically for a company that used to design games for it that went bankrupt back in 2009, and they had one in their archives. Well, while the cartridge slot in the rear works fine and allows SNES games to be played, the drive apparently appears to be disabled. And for those who thought it was a fake, though, that is clearly not the case, as it does boot, and it has, not only does it have its own custom operating system, but also it's clear from the hardware inside that this has Sony chips on board. They went so far as to X-ray and disassemble the console just to be able to prove what all was in it. And so just kind of a little bit of gaming, history that someone did go back and confirm that Sony and Nintendo almost released a console together that would have essentially been the PlayStation, but with all of Nintendo's gaming power behind it. And arguably would have been pretty damn epic. Except with that, we got the PlayStation, we got a whole entrance into adult console gaming. So there was that. Sir, on to you!
That's all very interesting. Lucky for that guy who went and bought that, though. I bet he's got a lot of... I bet he made his money back in news stories than anything else.
Yeah, if nothing else, people talk to
him.
Yeah, $75, it's nothing.
Yeah, that's nothing for a bit of history. Okay, so I'm looking through IGN's articles, by the way, as I do, and oh my god, I don't think there's enough things about Fallout in here, to be honest. I don't think there is. I think I saw 2 in there that weren't about Fallout. That was weird. It was very concerning. So I'm going to try to not only talk Fallout today, I promise, but there are a couple more Fallout things I'm going to bring up just because there's so many articles about it and there's so many interesting things. Okay, again, mini spoiler, think of it more of an Easter egg, I guess. But very, very many, not story related as much as something that you can find in the game. I'm going to give you 5 seconds in order to stop listening momentarily so that I don't ruin anything in case you're mad. Okay, here we go.
And go.
Yeah, so you can find the bar from Cheers in Fallout 4. That's pretty cool. So there's a place you can go where everybody knows your name. Just over the road from some place in the game. I'm not even going to talk about that. That's too much of a thing.
Okay.
You'll find a bar which is actually the German named equivalent of Cheers, which is Prost. But if you walk in there, you'll find a pretty good replica of the bar from Cheers. You'll find Sam's office, the pool room, and a bunch of little Easter eggs laid around the place. So that's pretty cool. Except everything's skeletons, of course, instead of actual people. But that's cool as well. I hate when IGN puts up an article as if it's an article, but it's actually a wiki page. It's like, I don't want to see a wiki page, nor do I want to see a video.
Cheap articles, cheap journalism.
Yeah, there's one here that I'm not going to read the whole of, but just like more of a mention. If you haven't already, if you're into the Fallout stories, the Fallout universe, and you think the lore's interesting, etc., go and read about the different vaults. There's a whole bunch of different weird vaults, and basically what the story writers at Bethesda did is they said, what are some of the weirdest sociological, biological, physiological tests we could possibly do on mankind? And they just performed them in their fictional universe on Vault Dwellers. Including the man with his puppets in Vault 77, the sacrificial Vault Dwellers of Vault 11, the virtual torturer of Vault 112, Insanity by Bad Comedy, 55 and 56. Overdrugging, Red versus Blue, Death by Fungus.
I wonder if each of the vaults theme is based on one of the internet rules.
I don't think there's a Rule 34 one.
I say, so yeah, you gotta find Vault 34. That would be the ultimate Easter egg.
Yeah. Everybody knows about, what's it called, Little Lamplight, or whatever it's called, from Fallout 3. So there's a whole bunch of interesting ones. Go back and read those if you're interested. There's quite a lot of stuff to do. Quite a lot of good stories to read, I should say. So apparently there's sex and romance inside Fallout 4 as well. I've not actually looked into it myself, and I'm not going to read the article again, because I don't want to have spoilers to myself or to you. So let's move on to one actual article quickly. Wait, why do they? We've read this already. Why have you got that on the same page? It's the one. It's the one talking about Fallout. Sorry, Warcraft 4 being a possibility. I don't want to read that again.
Keep going, sir. What else you got?
All right, let me talk about Hearthstone a little bit. So, League of Explorers came out this week, and I, like I said, I picked it up. So let me talk through the adventure and see what's available right now. So, if you go pick it up right now, it's £15, something like $25, and it comes with a whole bunch of new cards, some of which you get straight away, including a hat, which is always important when you're going on an adventure. And it opens up the normal challenges. There's 4 wings. The first wing is currently open. When you finish the normal challenges, you can then do the heroic ones, and you can also do class challenges, which is the same bosses you've just done, but you're given a very specific deck, a very specific deck that you have to use. So far, the game's a lot of fun. It's themed a lot around Indiana Jones, you can tell. There's a lot of references, including a giant boulder that chases you as one of the bosses, which is funny. So instead of you're not against an enemy per se. There's just an enemy boulder, and every time it gets to the enemy player's turn, it generates something that happens, and then you have to make a decision. So it'll say something like, "Oh, you've walked into a room where there's a fountain. Do you want to drink from the fountain, or do you want to just leave?" And then at the bottom it says, like, if you drink from the fountain, it'll restore your health fully, but if you leave, it'll cut down the number of turns until you win by 3 or something. Oh. So it's quite fun because it means that there's not an obvious answer, and plus there's this character, I can't remember his name. He's this really annoying guy who is effectively, he's doing that sort of trope where he's like, "Oh, you're helping me through this," when you're clearly the person doing all the work, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll save you," and then you save him, etc., etc. Right? It's good fun. They've got good comedy through it. Really, I'm enjoying it, to be honest. And I'm really looking for. I can't wait till the next part to open because it is so much fun. But have you picked up yourself, actually, sir? Are you planning to?
What? The expansion for Hearthstone?
Yeah.
No.
Why not?
I don't play that game.
At all? I play it occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally is like when people in here like guilt me into playing with them for a moment, and then I'm like, I hate Hearthstone.
Really? Oh, dude, I love it.
But here's the thing, I don't play any CCGs, really. I've kind of gotten away from them just because I didn't like the idea of constantly having to buy and upgrade to keep up with the meta in the game and stuff. Oh, yeah. I lost it when I stopped playing Magic the Gathering, right? Because I have still a ton of cards from back in the original release of it. And I was just kind of like, ugh, I don't want to buy new sets and learn new rule sets to keep playing this game, but it seems like the only way I can play it, because everything else would just destroy my decks because all that mechanics don't work anymore.
Oh, I know. But it's still, this is relatively cheap compared to that, to be fair. I mean, Hearthstone, every few months you drop, what, $25 into it?
Too much!
So no, it's not. Again, there's an input-output, right? I enjoy it and play it enough so that the money I put into it, I'm actually saving money. If I went out and drank instead, or if I went and bought other games, I'd be spending a lot more money for a lot less time.
But see, I can go play Magic the Gathering 2014 for free.
You could.
And they released it with, like, basically all the basics to it.
Yeah, but how many cards are in there? How many...
Lots. It's
how
Magic
open
the
is
Gathering.
the community? How often does it change? There's new stuff every few weeks in Hearthstone in terms of you get tavern brawls changing every week. You get quests every day. You get new decks you can pick up. Like there's so much more to it. There's a collection element as well that you can enjoy. There's a lot to it. Ugh, is that you guys say? One of the cards you get, for example, is called the. So they don't say genies yet, right? They have the sort of traditional D-J-I-N-N-I.
Okay. Oh well, it's a genie, but it's a how do you say that? Yeah.
Daijin? Daijin is it called?
It's something like that. Is it Djinn or is it Jin? Jin, I don't know. Essentially, officially.
Yeah.
If I'm not incorrect.
One of the bosses you go against is the Djinn of Zephyrs. And that's a really fun mechanic as well, because what it does is he has a hero power that he gets a free random spell. No, sorry. He draws a card when he uses his hero power, but it gives you a wish. And a wish is a card that can do one of many things, and you usually get a choice. Like, summon one of these 3 creatures onto the field straight away, which one do you want? So usually it's like, one that's in your class that makes sense for you to use, do you want a Murloc, or do you want this other random thing? So it's usually, or sometimes it's like, do you want this legendary, or do you want a Murloc, or do you want a 0/1 creature? And it's kind of obvious which one you want. But when you kill him, you get the card, the Genie of Zephyrs card, which is whenever you cast a spell on another friendly minion, cast a copy of it on this one. So if you cast like +4 attack, +4 defense on a minion while he's out, he'll also get +4/+4, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, so it's pretty nice. They're adding it. It's not just new cards. It's new. There's new stuff going on. It's new ideas, new concepts. So, really do recommend the game. Lots of fun. Here's the other one I got. Summoning Stone. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random minion of the same cost. That's
interesting.
That's quite a huge new mechanic, in my opinion. That changes it quite drastically. And if you have a spellcasting deck, these kind of things can be very powerful. Especially if you're just pure spellcasting and you want something to come survive along, some survivability, something that can help you out a lot. Alright, that'll do it for me for that one. What you got, sir?
Alright, so, as I just finished, buying mine right here, there's
Buying yours? Sorry,
no, not that, different thing. There is a tool out there for people who are all around the world and want to be a little more conscientious of their security. Everybody knows about things like VPNs and how basically you can set up access where you go into the internet and broadcast and do the things you do, but not directly from your computer. You basically run it through a network of other spoof-type IPs or other computers around the world to kind of hide where it is and who it is that you are as you do things online. So VPNs are a common source of what are considered good ways to protect yourself depending on what you're doing online and just keeping people from being able to find you as readily. Well, one of them, and this came from VGR, there is a article I basically posted into the show notes as well as onto the IRC, and for the next 6 days, because it's about to go out, there is a discount for a lifetime of secure private browsing from PureVPN. There are lots of different VPN services out there. You pick one that you like. This one I brought specifically because I read the article about it, and it says you can get a lifetime subscription right now for $69. Where it'll stay active as long as the VPN service is. Because I say this because I've used other VPNs in the past that have often cost me as much as $20 or $30 a year. And keep getting upgraded. So for paying for essentially a one-time 2-year price on it can give you an entire lifetime of support. They're very popular. They have 550 plus server nodes that they've got in 141 different countries around the world. And so there's a good chance that if you need to be protected, you can use PureVPN and be safe for it. And save a lot on it right now. So that was kind of... And I can't say them over another. That's just one that's on sale. While I'll bring it up. Other random information news. Oh, I've got 2 that I want to bring up about Comcast. So, Comcast, huge ISP here in the United States, and I always like to bring up and keep people informed on this. One thing they did recently is they posted a tweet, essentially, an article talking about things that they're trying to basically do some social media attacks against Google and Google Fiber. And this says, oh, but they don't know how to do it well, and an attempt they had to bash Google Fiber backfired. It says, oh, Comcast, when will you learn that your customers just don't like you, no matter how much rival ISPs screw up? Comcast recently tried to bash Google Fiber on Facebook after Google Fiber services went down in Kansas City during the first game of the World Series featuring the hometown Kansas City Royals. Although it looks like the posts have since been removed, it says that Comcast was then flooded by people who defended Google Fiber while giving Comcast an earful on customer complaints. So the initial post they put out said, from Xfinity on Comcast said, in Kansas City, Google Fiber customers missed part of this World Series game after Google Internet Network went down. And so they just posted that. Responses to that tweet that they put out included things like, screw yourself, Xfinity. Google Fiber has failed once, and you fail continuously. Another one said, but I'm still paying a high bill for internet service that's slower than Google Fiber. Another one, I just got a text, you've reached 125% of your 300 gig Xfinity internet monthly data plan with 0 gig remaining until additional charges apply. I can't wait for Google Fiber to come to my area. I'm trying to view the usage meter and it's not working. I don't get how you claim I use 75 gigs in 3 days. You are going to lose a 10-year customer. And it just kept going beyond that. Funny part is almost to each one of them, they came back saying to whoever posted, said, please private message me your account information and I'll look into why you're having service issues from the Xfinity account online. And so, but basically they tried to get on social media and beat on Google and failed horribly because it's an ISP that nobody really likes, but they have to have if they're around it. The other one I wanted to bring up about Comcast, specifically based on that email that came out about the 300 gigs, or the tweet that came up, this from Engadget talking about those data caps. Data caps. So many places in the country have to deal with this. Thankfully, on my business account, I don't. But one article comes up and says, hey, many internet providers with data caps, especially in mobile, will tell you that those limits exist to prevent network congestion. Well, that's not necessarily true, but it's the official line. However, Comcast isn't even trying to make that claim. Leaked support documents show that the cable giant's customer service reps will deny that expanding internet caps are about congestion in any form. Instead, the ceilings are about, quote, fairness, and offering a, quote, more flexible policy to subscribers. Also, Comcast is telling agents to avoid describing cap-free areas as having unlimited usage. Instead, staffers are supposed to tell you that unfettered areas are still subject to Comcast's long-standing 250 gig soft cap that the company isn't currently, quote, enforcing. In other words, it's unlimited. Comcast does come back and tell Engadget that the documents are real and that they line up with what the company has said in the past. You can read all the documents from their site, and it says it's safe to say that the arguments don't pass the sniff test, though. You already had fairness and flexibility since Comcast would only occasionally clamp down on people running over its caps. If you currently use over 300 gigs per month and live in one of the newly capped areas, you're going to be paying more to maintain that level of service. So that is one of the big complaints that has come out now about Comcast. I don't know if you'd heard about that, but they basically announced a handful of cities where they were introducing a new, exploratory type fee structure where they were going to charge people, I forget how much it was for their regular unlimited internet, but it was going to increase essentially that if you did not, if you went over the 300 gigs, you would have to pay more or they'd basically cut you off almost completely. And it was going to be a mandatory upgrade to people from people that already had these other plans available. And so it's a huge complaint where it's like they're forcing people into this new pay structure.
Yeah, well, I know that the Comcast is the big greedy company, right? And I know that they always have these disgusting corporate methodologies on enforcing the consumers to do stupid plans, stupid... accept stupid terms and agreements that are going to effectively help them have less traffic on the network, but gouge the customer more for it. So I've never been a fan of Comcast, and I've always been pro-Google. The fact that Google had a failure means that they are not infallible, which is good. I'd be concerned if Google was godlike. Thankfully, they are just merely human, like the rest of us. However, at least they actually have the corporate responsibility not to fall over every, day and a half, unlike Comcast. At least they have a good pricing structure, unlike Comcast. At least their customer service is I've never heard any problems with Google's customer service. I've never heard a thing about it, actually. Comcast? I hear about something to do with that every other day, and I'm not even in the right country for it. You know? Like, Comcast, you have no ground to stand on here. There's absolutely no reason for you to mock Google for this.
Oh, that one's just stupid. Well, they thought that somehow that would gain them something. They don't understand how customers truly think about them. That's kind of the issue, right? It's you are so oblivious to reality that you don't understand that most of your own people are like, F you guys.
The thing is, it's an internal culture. They have to continually say to each other, Comcast is great, hey buddy, hey fellow employee. Yes, Comcast is great, fellow buddy. Because that's what they have to do, right? If they actually accepted what people were saying about it, they'd probably lose their jobs, so, yeah. Anyway, with that, we're actually at the very end of the show, sir.
It does look that way. It looks like we have filled all of our time for today's internet progress. So we would like to thank all of you for listening today. Ken, could you read us out real quick?
Sure thing. You're listening to ShowX on VTLReductions.com. Check us out on patreon.com/ShowX. Send us your pennies. We appreciate it. Keeps the servers running, keeps the software going, keeps us here as well, which is important to keep the show going. We are kind of a part of the show. Send us an emails. We didn't have any today. That would make us very sad. ShowX@VTLReductions.com. Any emails about your Geek Cred, what you've been up to, what are your thoughts on Fallout, Hearthstone? Have you played Tomb Raider? Are you that one person? Do tell us. Follow us on twitter.com/VTWShowX, twitter.com/DocDead for Mr. Wayne here, and twitter.com/GoX for myself. Be warned, mine is very, very political. Check us out on Facebook.com and search for ShowX there and like us there. We appreciate that too. That's for our show stuffs as well. And also funny pictures. That's where we post things that we think are humorous and random. So go check those out. And finally, check out all the other shows, Vita Productions and Alpha Geek Radio, our simulcasting buddy station, brother station. We love those guys. Go check them out and all the other shows at VitaProductions.com. And thank you for having me on the show again, sir.
Thank you as always for being with us today, Ken, and we will catch you all again next week. All right, everybody, have a good week. We'll see you in the gaming after the show in TeamSpeak. Bye!
Goodbye. See you in the next zombie.